Hi, this is Tracy from Chicago, and you're watching Takeover TV.
What is up, friends? Takeover peeps, random person coming across this video. However you got here, I'm so happy to have you. We're here with another weekly wrap-up. Let's get into it. This week flew by. I don't know about you guys. It felt like it went very fast for me. I had a good time, though. Busy work week, but then going into the weekend, got some family time. We actually went to our first ever Comic-Con. It was the Space Coast Comic-Con. Pretty small, especially compared to the bigger ones that I've seen, but I feel like they packed a lot in there. I mean, there were a lot of vendors, there were artists doing sketches that had been brought in as guests, there were panels, there were people playing board games like D&D, things like that. Went around, bought a few stuff. I actually grabbed some comics for my personal collection. Now, I'm not a comic person in that, like, I don't understand the value of comics. I just found some cheap comics that looked really cool to me because, you know, I love Spider-Man. So I grabbed about 10 Spider-Man comics for 10 bucks. Ones from the 90s that I remember seeing as a kid at the library or the store. I actually found a copy of the first ever Spider-Man comic that my father bought for me, which I have long lost in the past, that had Hobgoblin on the cover, and I was very excited about that. Another thing I looked for in there, though, was cool advertisements. So that's one of the things I loved. And honestly, at $1 a piece, I actually ended up getting 11 for 10. There was a deal. At $1 a piece, though, even some of the advertisements in there were worth it for me. And I'm excited to sit down and read them. There was some cool stuff in there, like advertisements for old video games. There was a Sega Saturn advertisement. It was like, do you remember the Game Boy where you could take selfies basically if you stuck the camera on there? There was an advertisement for purchasing that thing as it was about to come out. Old movies, cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, things like that. It was so cool. Anyways, I enjoyed myself at Comic-Con quite a bit, and I look forward to going to that again. I hope to go to a bigger one sometime because I would love to see like even more celebrities and panels and guests and sketch artists and all that stuff. Question of the day, have you ever gone to a Comic-Con? And even more importantly, have you dressed up at one? And if so, what did you dress up as? Let me know in the comments. Sports news, the Denver Nuggets are officially NBA champions. Congrats to them, it's their first in team history. And I think this is really cool because Denver is not a big market team. I mean, you know, the big market teams that get paid attention to, think LA, think New York, that kind of stuff. This actually gives me a glimmer of hope for maybe seeing a Minnesota Timberwolves championship in the future, as we are another fellow beloved but small market team. Anyways, congratulations to the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is an outstanding player. And I mean, he wasn't even the #1 overall draft or pick in his draft. And look at him now. I mean, he was like a late 10s to mid first rounder. Oh wait, that's right. He wasn't even drafted until the second round. 41st overall in 2014. Did you know he didn't even have cards come out in 2014? That's how off the radar he was. Believe me, I opened a couple cases of NBA Prism basketball 2014 cards in there, going on the Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker chase, which was a lot of fun, but there was not a Nikola Jokic card to be seen, I promise you. He actually didn't even have cards come out for his rookie year until 2015, as far as things like Prism. Articles have been circulating that the XFL is in trouble. Apparently they lost a lot of money last year. But here's the thing. Owner Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you know exactly who I'm talking about when I say that name, tweeted out a response stating that he plays the long game in business and the XFL is no exception. He also went on to say that any L's they experienced, that's losses for those of you that are in with the lingo with the kids, just taught them lessons for what to do next year. And that the XFL also saw the success of nearly 100 XFL players getting a call from the NFL teams to have a shot in NFL camps, which is really cool, actually. For something that truly wants to be kind of a developmental league. I mean, they're far separated from the way the XFL started in the 90s, where it was like a spin-off of like WWF. Now they want to be more of a developmental league rather than their own kind of like shock value league. That's a lot. That's a significant amount of players, to be honest. How many of them will catch on? We'll find out. A big name soccer star is taking his talents to Miami Beach. Lionel Messi announced that he will be signing with MLS team Inter Miami CF. This follows his current contract ending on June 30th, and he is allowed to enter in with that team. And honestly, being a Florida boy myself now, I might have to make a trip over to Miami to see a soccer game. Of course, the prices have just skyrocketed ever since this announcement. That's no big surprise, but this might be my chance to see, you know, a fantastic soccer player play. In other news, Dalvin Cook was released by the Vikings. He has yet to sign with the team and be interested to see where that goes, and we're still waiting to see where DeAndre Hopkins lands. If I saw correctly, though, on the day that I'm filming this video, he is currently visiting the New England Patriots. All right, and this part isn't sports news, but this is competitive gaming, I guess. Wheel of Fortune longtime running host Pat Sajak is retiring following the end of the season. I think it's the 41st season, which is wild. And Pat Sajak became the host in 1981, so that is quite the long run. Sports cards news. Fanatics posted a tweet confirming that CJ Stroud is indeed a Fanatics exclusive for autographs in their products. This is big news because here is one for sure big-time rookie that is off the table for Panini, will not have autographs in high-end stuff such as Flawless. And I promise you this isn't the only one that Fanatics has signed. If you remember right, we talked about it a little bit a few wrap-ups ago. Card Collector 2 had gone to the NFL Rookie Premiere and stated that it appeared that there were multiple other top rated rookies this year that will not be signing for Panini products. Now, if I may, I have a sports card related question for you folks. I am, kind of 50-50 on making the National this year. I didn't do the best job planning. Obviously, the National is like top tier sports card show. But if I miss it, I do want to make it out to some other ones. And I want to make it more of a thing going into the rest of this year in 2024 that I attend a few other sports card shows that aren't just the National or the one most local to me. Now, do you have any specific favorite ones that you think I should attend, even if it means flying to it? Let me know in the comments because I'd love to check it out. Video game news. Ubisoft announced a new Star Wars game, and I only found out about it this morning, and I am pumped. It's an ambitious project titled Star Wars Outlaws. It appears to be an open world experience, single player campaign mode type thing, which honestly is my favorite at this point. I get a little bit burnt out on multiplayer modes. I really liked like Battlefront and things like that. And I like playing multiplayer if my friends can physically be with me in the room to play it. Playing online with a bunch of faces I don't see or people I don't know, not the most fun for me. Back when I used to play Call of Duty, I actually used to mostly only play the campaign mode and maybe dabble in multiplayer a little bit until some 13-year-old kid shot me in 3 seconds and said some problematic phrase. Anyways, back to Star Wars Outlaws. This is supposed to be, the storyline I guess is set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which is awesome. Those are my two favorite Star Wars movies, so pumped about that. And I'm excited that Ubisoft is doing this. I think that they're a really good one for this. Some people see them as very repetitive, but I also think those are the people that play every single Assassin's Creed that comes out. Now, for those of us who maybe don't play them as much, Ubisoft just makes beautiful open worlds that you can just get lost and immersed in, and that's what I'm excited for. I think they'll do justice for Star Wars, and I've loved other games they've made. Like, I loved Watch Dogs 2. I liked the only Assassin's Creed I ever played, Black Flag. If you want to see some gameplay footage, Ubisoft's YouTube page posted a video yesterday, 10 minutes of gameplay, so you get to see a good amount of it, and it looks really cool. I watched it once, I'm going to watch it again and get even more excited. Anyways, it looks like the game is due out in 2024. Stuff that slaps. Today I'm talking about a podcast. I am giving a shout out to Unlocking What Was Cool. That is the name of the podcast, okay? Unlocking What Was Cool is made by two friends, Mike Lane and Neil Gilbert. Now, they started in 2020 as a podcast called The GameCube Was Cool, which obviously got the attention of your boy because your boy loves GameCube. And what they did was they made episodes where they went through every single game in the library, which is a lot of games. Obviously, they batched certain ones together, like they weren't going to make like a Madden 2004 episode, and then a Madden 2005 episode, and then a Madden 2006 episode. They didn't do that. They batched like the football games together, like the Madden kind of thing. But as for the other ones, like there's a Super Mario Sunshine episode, there's a 007 Nightfire episode, there's a Super Monkey Ball episode, like you get that division. And I loved it. But eventually, they covered all the games, and they decided what they're going to do next is to cover things that they think are cool in the same like period of time that the GameCube was happening. So we're talking like 90s culture and early 2000s. Some of the episode examples, and they're only like there's not a ton out yet. Like you could rip through the GameCube ones so fast. Trust me, if you just throw it on during the day and go through, you'll be caught up in no time. But they've done episodes recently since they switched over to unlocking what was cool. They've done things like Sum 41's All Killer No Filler. They've done Seinfeld Season 1. They've done Battlefront 2 on like PS2. I'm not talking about the current gen. Roller Coaster Tycoon, etc., etc. The show is just very relaxable. Relaxable. The show is very relaxing and enjoyable. Relaxable is a great word, though. And Mike and Neil just make you feel like you're one of their friends hanging out in the room with them. And I love that. Spotify is my go-to for listening to the show, but honestly, I checked Google, you can find them on all of your favorite like podcast streaming options. Unlocking What Was Cool podcast, certified slapper. Music picks, The Starting Line, based on a true story. The full album is my first pick this week. The Starting Line is a pop-punk emo band from Pennsylvania. I think they started in like 1999. Didn't write that down, but I think that's what it was. Really got popular in the early mid-2000s. I remember all of the people in my dorm in college just loving this band so much. This band for me is made up, I mean, the songwriting is really good. Like musically, very catchy, very well written. But Kenny Vasali's voice really sells it for me. I just love the emotion and passion that comes out in every word that he says. And just like his tone and range and how he kind of like, he's never screaming, but he's got that like raspy singing. But then he can just like deliver it beautifully too. Like he's very melodic. He's got a very, very good singing voice. And you better believe this album dropped so many one-liners from my emo soul all those years ago. But it was not a phase, so it still delivers it to my emo soul. My favorite tracks on this are Making Love to the Camera, Inspired by the $, Bedroom Talk, and Surprise Surprise. Now, where else can you find an album that delivers simple lines such as, I'll be your friend in hell, but for now I despise you, or I'm gonna tear your ass up like we just got married, but then also delivers lines that are thought-provoking and emotional, such as, and if we blossom as high as northwestern trees, I swear I'll still be the same as I was as a seed. And if these branches hold a leaf, they'll hold convictions, I believe. You can probably find that kind of stuff lots of places. But anyways, next up is a band called Personnel, and I'm going with the song Good Days. Well, surprise, surprise, that's a callback if you were paying attention. This is another Kenny Vasali project, the lead singer of The Starting Line. Personnel was Kenny's decision to explore other types of music within the rock realm. And this band carries more of an indie rock alternative experimental vibe. I remember the first time that I saw Personnel live. It's funny because I can't remember if I really liked them. I think that I liked what was going on, but it felt so out of place for the show because they were opening for the band Under Oath. And I think The Devil Wears Prada and Seosin might have been on that tour too. So like it felt kind of out of place, but they're all friends, so like it made sense. But after going to that show and then later reapproaching the band and listening to songs they had released, I fell in love. Kenny's ties to Under Oath, though, back to the show thing, go pretty deep. They had played shows together way back in the day. When Aaron Gillespie, the drummer of Under Oath, did his other project, The Almost, Kenny was a part of that at times, guesting on stuff, sang on some songs. And Aaron and Kenny even released a Christmas song together. But back to Personnel. Good Days is just like, it feels happy. It makes me happy, at least. It's kind of this like slow, swaying, groovy, just like build up. The song is not heavy, but it gets heavier by putting layers upon layers as it like flows and swells through the song. And I really like when songs do that. But otherwise, the song sticks to the same kind of like drum pattern and chord progression all the way through. Kind of an A-B thing. Go listen to it. You'll see what I mean. Thank you so much for hanging out, friends. This was another great weekly wrap-up. Peace and love.